Hey y'all! Today we have Viserai versus Lexi, and let's get into it. So, my opponent won the die roll and has chosen to go first, which totally makes sense. Ranger wants to go first to try and set up that arsenal, which they very desperately need, and you also don't want Viserai to go first. Okay, so my opponent starts with just loading up a bolt and shot and not firing it. That's very nice. That means they get to come at me with a 6-card hand next turn, and they don't let me filter. So, yep, strong turn 1 play by my opponent. And on my side, for this matchup, I have decided to go for the more OTK style. The reason for that is I feel like when I'm against Lexi, a lot of times you want to block out the arrows. Like the arrows with pretty bad on hits. That gives you a bunch of frostbite, so it's like a lighted up that's going to deal you a lot of damage. You want to block them out. So if I'm going to be spending a lot of my turns blocking, I want to be setting up I want to also be setting up. So that's why I've chosen more OTK style. I have found that it's given me results against Lexi in the past. So I decided to just do that for this one as well. Right, so yeah, out of the 4 cards I had there, I didn't want to arsenal any of them. So I decided to just play this out. I could have, of course, just pitched to Grasp and then played Oath of the Arknight. So I end the turn with 2 rune chants, and since I'm going OTK, I want to have more rune chants. I just want to start building. But because I didn't have any card I want to arsenal there, I decided I'll just do this. Maybe I get a card on my opponent's hand, maybe I leak some damage in. Yeah. So they took the 1 rune chant, which was created by Oath of the Arknight, and Rune Flash is coming in for 5. They blocked 3 of it. And yeah, so I have an option to Rosetta here. And I choose not to, because I want to keep this rune chant, because, like I said, in my OTK build, I have a bunch of reduced rune chants, and playing reduced rune chants when you don't have any rune chants up is the worst feeling ever. It is so extremely inefficient. So I sort of lose the 4 damage of Rosetta there to make a reduced rune chant better, and like I said, I'm doing the OTK thing, so, you know, I want to keep my rune chants. They started with an Electrify from Arsenal, let's then draw a card, very nice. And they also revealed it with Lexi's ability. So this Bolt and Shot just straight up has Go Again. Even though its base attack is not high, it just has Go Again from Lexi's ability. Yep, so you can just cleanly block it with a Sync. And I'm deciding what to sync. My opponent just goes ahead and plays a Rain Razors, which was very nice. Because if this Bolt and Shot hits, I take an extra 3 damage from the red Electrify. Yeah, so I go ahead and sink away my Swarming Gloomveil. I want to keep that in the deck. My opponent's clearly gonna force me to block with more cards, and I'd rather keep Swarming Gloomveil in my deck. It's a very strong attack. So yeah, there we go. The Bolt and Shot leaks 2 damage, so I take that 2 plus 3 from Electrify. Cool. And then opponent comes an Unless Arrow for 6. So yeah, that's easy. Just give them 2 cards. Don't take any more damage. Don't let them take this Unless Arrow back. So now on Lexi's next turn, she's not gonna have an arsenal. And that's pretty big. We were pretty fortunate there that our sync drew us into a red Read the Runes. So that was nice. Cool. And now we have a hand where we have no rune chant generators. So I look at this hand and I think I'm just gonna block out with this hand. I don't mind throwing the whole hand for blocks. If my opponent stumbles a bit and I get to keep 1 card, I'll just keep the Whisper to try and set up either keep a defense react on top or more rune chant generation on top. Okay, so my opponent comes out to light it up, and they fuse it with a Weave Lining. So this tells me that the other card they have is not Lightning Press. Because if it was a Lightning Press, they would have just played this Weave Lightning. The other card that they have in hand is not a Lightning card, straight up. Because if it was, they would have played this Weave Lightning. And then use that other Lightning card to fuse light it up. So this light up is just coming in for 5. Yeah, my opponent gave it +1. So I know there's nothing else coming. And I know the other cards aren't Lightning Press, so I can just throw 2 cards in front of this. And that actually changes what I do on my turn. Because I was expecting either my opponent takes my whole hand or they take 3. But based on the way they drew, they actually only took 2 cards from me. And my red Amplify the Arcanite I'm holding onto is free. So I decide that I might as well just, yeah, I'll use a Whisper. When I find a defense reaction and a Read the Runes on top, that's perfect. I just keep them both there. And I actually just come in with this red Amplify. I still create a Rune Chant on the back since I played a non-attack, and this is representing 10 damage. Since, you know, like, I didn't find any more... Like, with those 2 cards that were left to me, I couldn't create more Rune Chants. So I'd rather just do this. Typically, the OTK plan, what you want to do is just build up Rune Chants for, like, the first half of the game. Have your big pop-off turn. And then, if you don't kill them in that pop-off turn, you know, your last 2 to 3 turns of the game, you do stuff like this. So you come in just 1 attack. Just based on the way I drew here, I felt like I sort of had to reverse that order, where at the start, I'm sort of just chipping in, and then I'm gonna start building up my Rune Chants. Yep, so my opponent takes 4 Arcane there, and gives me 2 cards. It's still leaking 2. So I'm very happy with that. Cool, and we have 2 defense reactions in hand. Reduce Rune Chant is free right now, since we have a Rune Chant left behind. Ooh, but my opponent flips up a Polar Blast from Arsenal, giving me a Frostbite. So that Lightning Lexi deck still seems to be running a few ice cards. So that actually means we need to pay for Reduce Rune Chant now, which is a little unfortunate. And so because I know I'm going to need to pay for Reduce Rune Chant if I need to play it, I pay to not let to not let my opponent have Dominate on this next arrow. Since I expect to need to pay 1 anyway for my defense reaction. Yep, so my opponent gave this +1, so there's Remorseless coming in for 6. Oh yeah, I remember spending some time thinking about this. In the end, it actually turned out to be a pretty simple decision. I was deciding whether I'm to throw equipment in front of this. Because on my turn, I will be playing 1 action. I'll be playing my Read the Runes. So that'll take... If I let this Remorseless hit, just playing the Read the Runes will make me suffer 1 damage. So effectively, I'm looking at 1 piece of equipment here, like say the Grasp of the Arcanite. It's blocking 2, but effectively blocking 3, because it's preventing the on-hit and preventing me from taking damage. And I got caught up in that before realizing, I mean, it actually doesn't matter. It's in the end, it's just 1 extra damage, and I'd rather just save the Grasp of the Arcanite for more threatening on-hits. Yep, so I go ahead and spend 1, get rid of this Frostbite, and just sink it. Take 2 Remorseless is active, and I get to set up a defense reaction in Arsenal on my turn, so I'm very happy with that. Yep. Good. Runes. Yeah. We find a yellow Read Runes on our next hand, so that's nice. So our plan is still just going along fine here. Oh, yeah. Forgot to take the playing the action on my turn. Forgot to take the damage from that because Remorseless was active, so I took it just now. Okay, my opponent reveals a blue Heaven's Claws from Arsenal. It's not the most threatening thing. And then the Dazzling Crescendo, and they don't fuse it, but that actually doesn't give me any information, because this Dazzling Crescendo already had Go Again because they revealed a Lightning card. So my opponent still could have Lightning cards. However, there's no on-hit here, So I don't actually care about blocking this out completely. I could just throw one card in front of this and take whatever other damage leaks through. Yep, so I just put a 3 block in front of this. I saved... obviously a defense reaction could have blocked it. My reduced rune chant could have blocked this out a lot better. But I want to save it for relevant on hits. Like, for example, like this light it up right now. Yep, this light up is coming in for 5. My opponent did give it +1. So, yeah. Card and a reduce and block that completely. Yeah. So against Lexi, you do sort of want to sort of assess which cards you need to block out completely and which cards you don't. So usually Lexi players, like over there, at least in my experience, like good Lexi players would present their first arrow to be a one that you don't actually need to block out completely, and then a second arrow you really do need to block out completely. So you need to make sure you play around that. Unless you're Guardian, in which case you just block everything. Okay, so we see a Moderate Tide, which is nice. And I already have one Sonata parked in Arsenal. So I know that I don't need to worry about keeping this Sonata unless it's a CNC. But if a CNC comes, you know, I have my whole fridge to be able to block it. So yeah, I'm not too fussed about keeping this Sonata in hand. I would like to keep Moderate Tide, even though I don't have anything to pair it with right now. Like, I could just Moderate Tide Sonata, I suppose. That gives me 2 rune chance. It's not great. But just keeping it is nice if I draw another Read the Runes. Okay, my opponent reveals another Heaven's Claws, so the next attack is go again. Okay, so this is coming in for 5, go again. And I believe I just employ the same principle I was talking about earlier. Like, there's no reason to block this out completely and be inefficient with the blocks. Just, yeah, just throw one card in front of it and take the leaking damage. Okay, then my opponent loads in Buzzbolt, revealing a Lightning Surge. So, right, so now this Buzzbolt is coming in for 5, but it's threatening 6 damage on hit. And there we go. This one I block out completely. Cool. And then they come in with the blue Heaven's Claws, which is coming for 3, but if it hits, it deals me 4. So, yeah, I could have just taken the 4 and kept my Moderate Tide, but since I didn't have anything immediately that pairs with a Moderate Tide, I decided to just block with it. Be more efficient with my hand. Hopefully I draw into like a nice Moderate Tide pair card later. Like draw Moderate Tide and something that pairs with it later. But yeah. So if we hadn't blocked with the Moderate Tide there, we actually wouldn't have drawn into this Read the Runes. So, yeah. And we would have been at 4 health lower. It was a little, yeah. Unfortunate to have to block with Moderate Tide, but sometimes you have to do it. They reveal Lightning Surge, and next attack is go again from Lexi, and yeah. With my hand, I don't mind blocking with 3 of the attacks and just end the turn. End the opponent's turn with just yellow Read the Runes. Okay. So they come in with the Buzzbolt. Yep, it's this is 6 damage, because I give it +1 since I already had go again, since I revealed the lightning card. +1, but it's threatening 7 damage if it hits, because of its own effect. And then they load another Buzzbolt, and they use a Tunic to be able to play it, so they keep this blue Electrify in hand. So now this Buzzbolt is being fused, and the other the first Buzzbolt effect is also active, so this Buzzbolt is coming for 5, but it's threatening 7. And I make a mistake here. So basically, I was thinking this is coming for 5, threatening 7. So I go ahead and block 7 here, which doesn't make any sense. I don't need to play around any lightning press or anything since I know that last cards are blue electrify. So I really just need to block 5. But then I block 7 because I'm like, oh no, it's threatening 7. That was just a brain fart by me there. My opponent does let me take it back in a second, which is very nice of them. Yeah. I should have only blocked 5, and then now I can block this lightning surge, which is coming in for 4 but threatening 6. I can just block it completely with the Grasp of the Skeletor. Yeah. So yeah, unnecessary 6 damage avoided there. And still kept this yellow read the runes. Go ahead and play it. Yeah. Get 2 from it. Pass. They reveal a blue Electrify. Electrify is such a great card to reveal from Arsenal, because when you play it from Arsenal, it draws you a card. So that's very nice. Of course, a blue one means I'm not so threatened by the on-hit. Like, there'll be hands where I'll be okay with letting an attack hit me if it's just backed up by blue Electrify. So the 7th claw is coming in for 5. And it's threatening 6 on hit. TTS giving me issues there, I think. Yep, let's go ahead and block 6. There's no need to use a defense reaction yet here. Spolshan's coming in for 5, threatening 6 as well. And it has go again. So since this has go again, I resign myself to the fact that I can't stop this Electrify on hit. And so, like I said, it's only 1 damage, so I don't actually care about blocking it with equipment. So I should clarify, I can't stop this Electrify on hit with just the cards in my hand. Because if both my cards would need to block this out, and then they come in another attack almost certainly, since this has go again. And reload. So I think I decided to just sink this, and yeah, just take the extra damage from the Electrify. Ooh, and I sink into yellow read runes, which is perfect. Ooh, and then they lightning press it. So yeah, so I'm glad I definitely didn't throw both cards in front of this, because I would have taken the on hit anyway. So yeah. Cool. Yeah, I played a bit quickly there, just played my read runes before my opponent was done cleaning up, but yeah. Cool. So I'm just checking the number of defense reactions in my graveyard, because we're getting to the point where I want to start, when I want to pop off. Typically, once I get to about half the number of rune chants as my opponent's life total, so in this case it's about the 15-16 mark, that's when I would like to go off. So we're almost there, pretty much just like one of the read runes is gonna do it. Yeah, so then I just want to check my graveyard to make sure that I've used most of my defense reactions, because you really don't want to be revealing defense reactions from Sonata. So they start with blue Electrify. Pretty sure that deck runs a full rainbow of Electrifies. Yeah. And yeah, looking at my hand, I sort of have the greedy play where I become the Arc Knight, discard an attack, find a red read the runes, and play the red read the runes, which will bring me up to, to a total of +4 rune chance. So right now I'm at, what's that, 11 rune chance, so it'll bring me up to 15. That's a greedy play. Of course, there is There isn't. It depends how much damage I would need to take to pull that off. So right now my opponent's coming in with a Frazzle with a blue Electrify behind it. So that's actually really scary because if this Frazzle hits me, it deals me an extra 3 damage. +1 from the Frazzle's own effect on its own attack. And then Electrify deals me 1, but that 1 from Electrify is also increased by 1 by the Frazzle. So this is actually quite a high priority block. +3 doesn't seem worth it for me to just become the Arcanine fan to read the runes. And there's one unknown card in my opponent's hand. So I believe I blocked this for 6. This is coming in for exactly 6. Because my opponent gave this +1. So I believe I block for 6 and hold my defense reaction in case of a lightning press. Now, of course, if my opponent doesn't lightning press, that's a really unfortunate play. Because then I become the Arcanine. Yeah, then whatever the other card I'm left with is useless. If I'm left with Meet and Greet or Real Battle Bonds, I'll become the Arcanine. It's pointless, it's doing nothing in my hand. But I think it's worth it to save the potential blowout from getting lightning pressed in this situation. Yeah, so I'm gonna block 6. And yep, there we go. My opponent does lightning press it. So then I go ahead and reduce, and then I'm very glad I played around it. Of course, I'm still holding on to this Become, which doesn't do anything, but maybe I'll be able to use it next turn. Become the Arcanine, it's a strong card. Yeah. Cool, and we find another Read the Runes. So since I found that other Read the Runes, I'm actually okay with blocking with Become the Arcanine now. Of course, there's a play of Become the Arcanine, discard an attack, find Mordred, use Mordred, and then Read the Runes. But that requires me to keep 3 cards in my hand, and that just doesn't seem worth it. When I can just keep 1 card, just play to Read the Runes, and still have 15 rune chance, and I feel safe going off on 15 rune chance. My opponent starts with Winter's Bite, forcing me to discard or pay. So there's really only one option here. The only option is basically pitching, Become the Arcanine, and floating 2. Okay, I guess there's a greedy play where I discard one of my red attacks. But then if my opponent plays another one of these, which isn't unlikely, then I'm in a very unfortunate position. So yeah. So we're gonna pitch and I'm floating 2. Then they reveal lightning card. So this Heaven's Clauses go again. It's coming in for 5. Yep. Same principles I talked about. If no reason to do an inefficient block where I block this up completely by blocking 6 on a 5 attack when there's no on hit. So yeah. So now for this follow-up 3, I can block that completely. It's perfect. I don't know where that die came from and rolled across the screen. And yeah, red reader is on my 15 rune chance. So now I feel pretty safe too. Now I'm planning that the turn after this, I want to go off. And my Sonata has just been happily parked in my arsenal this whole time. So looking at this hand here, it's quite nice actually. Typically on a Sonata turn, you're really struggling for go again. Like you want to be going wide. Swarming Gloomveil and Meet and Greet are both natural go again attacks. Morven Skies, I can flash out with Spellbound Creepers to get an action point and give my next attack go again. And Dread Triptych is a resource card for the Sonata. Since I'm on an odd number of rune chance, I can pitch the Dread Triptych, float 2, and spend an even amount on my Sonata. So if I have 15 rune chance, I can spend 1 from Dread Triptych and Sonata for X equals 8. So that's quite nice. And yeah, so you see me just start taking damage here. Because I kind of want to keep all 4 cards in my hand. And of course my opponent is able to read this. Once the Viserai starts taking damage, you can expect that they want to go off the next turn. So yeah, so they go ahead, yeah, they play out a red electrify followed by lightning surge. So yeah, since I've basically telegraphed to my opponent that I'm gonna go off next turn and I want my hand, they decide to do this very aggressive move of coming with this lightning surge. So they're basically saying you either block with one card and an equipment, or you're taking 7. So yeah. So I start wondering whether I can block with this Dread Triptych. The other thing I'm thinking about is that when I do my Sonata turn, I still want some of those cards to, like at least one of those cards to be like a resource card, right? So I'm just looking at a number of blue attacks in my graveyard. I have 2 Dread Triptychs in there. I have all 3 blue Spellblade Assaults in there. So I kind of, I don't want to take the risk of losing this blue and then only seeing like say 9th blades and red attacks off of my Sonata. So I believe I end up just choosing not to block this and taking 7. The other thing that helped with this decision is that my opponent isn't ending with an arsenal this turn, which means that and on the next turn, if they survive, I'm definitely taking the full hand. So they will still need another turn after that to be able to set up an arsenal and then come at me with a proper turn. Since it's ranger, you know, like they need the arsenal. Yep, so I go ahead and just take the full 7 here. My opponent has no cards in hand. And yeah, we're about to pop off. So on my turn, I'm Marvin Skies, and I, pitch the Dread Triptych. So X is 8. I will reveal 11 cards. That's our last defense reaction stuck in the deck. Ooh, so this, oh yeah, this turned out to be a perfect split. I get 5 attacks. So yeah, the most I can get when you, when X is, when you're revealing 11 cards. So yeah, very happy with that. Yeah, very happy with the extra pitch Dread Triptych. That means I do get 5 instead of 4. And then now there's 5 Arcane coming at my opponent. And my opponent's only running Arcane Barrier 1, so they can at most only block 1 of it, since it's a single source. And I'm just laying my cards out there for my opponent to see like what I've taken from Sonata. Since it's open information, it's revealed. I just leave it there and start putting it into my hand. Okay, so my opponent goes ahead and takes 5 damage there. They should be at 26 at this point. There seemed to be some sort of glitch in TTS where for some reason on my screen it showed my opponent was at 0 when they're actually at 26. That does get amended in a bit, so yeah. So my opponent's at 26. And then, yep, I go ahead and start with 9th Blade. I create a rune chant on the back, and yeah, and I'm gonna be flashing in the Marvin Skies after this. So my opponent straight up just took the 15 rune chance, so they should be at 11. And yeah, there we go. I amended here so it shows up properly on my screen. There we go. The 11 and his 9th blade's coming in for 9. So use 3 pieces of equipment. That's blocking 5 total. And I think they end up using 1 more card from hand. Yep, use Anasaurus. So they take 1 from this 9th blade. Spellbound Creepers, Flash and Marvin Skies. Yep, get a rune chant off of it, I get my action point back, and my next attack is go again. Unfortunately, the only attack I can actually play that doesn't already have go again is the blue Amplify the Arcanite, which is not something I want to do, so I sort of just waste the go again here. I just play the Rune Flash, since I expect this is like the cheapest Rune Flash would be, since I have 2 rune chants. The only other time I'd be at 2 rune chants this turn would be if once I play Meet and Greet and Meet and Greet hits. But, you know, the Meet and Greet needs to hit, and I might as well just play Rune Flash now when I'm certain I have 2 rune chants. I missed the trigger here. I should have created a rune chant upon Rune Flash hitting because of Marvin Skies. But yeah, I just missed that trigger, but it didn't end up mattering. Oh yeah, I was just pointing out to my opponent that I ended up needing to waste the go again on the Rune Flash because the only 2 not naturally having go again attacks I had was Blue Amplify and the Ninth Blade. Yep. And go ahead with the Gloom Veil. My opponent takes the Arcane from the Rune Chant, takes the damage from Gloom Veil. And I play a second Gloom Veil, and then yeah, and then I can still pitch the Meet and Greet and then Rosetta. So we just call the game there. So yeah, that was the Viserai into Lexi matchup. Like I said before, I found the OTK plan to be pretty effective against Lexi. Viserai has so many cards that block for 3 and very efficient defense reactions as well, which help with frostbites. Like reduced rune chant when you have like if you have like 5 rune chants, and you know, even if you have 3 frostbites on you, reduced rune chant is still free, and it helps you get rid of those frostbites on your opponent's turn. It's yeah, I just found it to be very effective. You saw in that game like how that turned out, so I was pretty happy with my decision there. Yeah, so that was the game. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed it.